It's definitely upsetting. I don't think nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats.
During the first 2 minutes of the first round playoff game of the Connecticut Sun versus the Indiana Fever, DiJonai Carrington poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. Caitlin fell to the ground. She was holding her face. The refs did not call a foul. They didn't call a flagrant foul. The play continued.
The recent game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. I mentioned it briefly in my last video, but now I want to take a closer look at a significant incident that happened during the game.
DiJonai is going up for the ball. She misses, and then her hand bends down like this and goes straight into Caitlin.
There was a play where DiJonai Carrington from the Connecticut Sun made contact with Caitlin Clark, hitting her in the eye. This resulted in Clark getting a black eye.
We all realize where the credit needs to be given as far as the success of this WNBA season. Caitlin Clark came in and made such an impact.
But surprisingly, no foul was called. After seeing the play in real time, I revisited it this morning and watched the replays. It's clear that this should have been called a foul, and some people are even questioning whether it was intentional.
WNBA, I'm talking players, coaches, and refs. They're all a bunch of Caitlin Clark haters. They're all a bunch of jealous haters.
Yep.
They are just working themselves up about Caitlin Clark just to hate on her. Skylar Diggins is bumping her. Their girls are complaining on the bench. Referees are getting into it now. They're all a bunch of haters.
This incident has sparked a lot of outrage and backlash, with many criticizing the WNBA for the referee's failure to call the foul.
This was the highest viewed season in the history of the league.
People are frustrated, feeling that the league is not doing enough to protect its players, especially in cases like this involving Caitlin Clark.
In 28 years, the numbers were stellar. Caitlin Clark drew a whole new fan base into it. And now the question is, because she has been eliminated, she and the Indiana Fever are eliminated after losing 2 games to the Connecticut Sun. What is the rest of the season going to look like? Are people still going to care? That is the question on everybody's mind, because when you look at the numbers with Caitlin Clark there, her first playoff game, drawing 1.84 million viewers, ridiculous numbers. The highest rated playoff game since game 2 of the 2000 WNBA finals. This wasn't even just an opening round game back in 2000. This was one of the finals games. So this clearly is showing how much of an impact Caitlin Clark is having.
Let's take a look at the play again. Here it is in slow motion. You can see DiJonai Carrington swatting at the ball and accidentally or possibly intentionally hitting Clark in the eye.
Remember, Caitlin Clark was drafted first, which means last year they were the worst team in the WNBA. It did not matter because this season they were the most watched team in the league.
What's striking is that Carrington didn't even check on Clark after the incident, and no foul was called.
You know, those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice to the people in our league, the organization, the WNBA. But there are a lot of really good fans, whether they've been fans for 20 plus years or whether they're new fans in our league. I think continuing to uplift this league in a very positive light is the best thing that we can do.
The real issue here is the lack of action from the WNBA. The fact that this wasn't called a foul is what's causing all the controversy.
There are so many great players. There's so many great teams. There are so many positive storylines that can be written and celebrated, and for me, that's why I became a fan of this league.
There are claims of bias and unfair treatment, particularly against white players in the league.
These people were my idols. I grew up wanting to be like them. So I think continuing to uplift and, you know, represent this league in a positive way is the best thing that we can do.
Now let's look at the play from a different angle. This slow motion video from the backside shows what happened to Clark more clearly. It raises questions about whether the contact was accidental or intentional.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
The WNBA needs to investigate this incident immediately. So does this look like an unintentional move to you? The video evidence is certainly raising some eyebrows.
Damn it, in the first 2 minutes of this game, this DiJonai Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye.
And it's time for the league to take a closer look. Let's take a closer look at this play in slow motion. The follow through here is what's really troubling, as it changes from a swat at the ball to a hand that directly hits Caitlin Clark in the eye. To me, it looks very intentional. This incident is reigniting the frustration people had earlier in the season when Clark was frequently hit and the referees failed to call fouls. For example, just a couple of weeks ago, Diamond DeShields made a similar aggressive move against Clark. People are furious about this lack of action from the WNBA. In a recent WNBA playoff game, Caitlin Clark experienced an eye poke from DiJonai Carrington, which sparked a lot of discussion. This reminds me of an event that changed my life. In 2016, I was driving to a reunion with friends when a distracted driver ran a red light and crashed into me. My car was total and I ended up needing multiple knee surgeries. Insurance companies often try to pay you less than what you deserve after an accident, which is why I'm excited to introduce our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. They're the largest personal injury law firm in the country and can fight for the best possible result for your case if you become their client. Whether it's a minor accident or something more serious, they make sure the insurance company doesn't shortchange you. The best part? You don't pay them up front. If they don't win, you don't pay. If you ever find yourself in an accident, remember your options. You can start your claim now by clicking the link in description below. Thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. The fact that no foul was called in this latest incident is inexcusable. It seems like DiJonai Carrington deliberately poked Clark in the eye, and this should have been a flagrant foul at the very least. The WNBA and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert need to address this immediately. The silence from the commissioner is expected, but it's unacceptable. Carrington's action looks like a deliberate attempt to harm Clark, and it's shocking that her teammates didn't step in to defend her. If I were Clark's dad, I'd be advocating for better protection, like goggles, to prevent such injuries in the future. The potential consequences of such actions are severe. Imagine if Clark's eye had been seriously damaged, ending her career. The backlash would be immense. This incident highlights a larger issue with the WNBA's officiating and player safety, and it needs to be taken seriously. The impact on the league's ratings is also a concern. If the Fever get eliminated, the drop in viewership will be significant, especially as the playoffs progress. This could be a wake-up call for the WNBA, but for now, the focus should be on ensuring player safety and fair officiating. The backlash over the WNBA's handling of recent incidents is quite telling. One question that stands out is why the league allows players to wear long acrylic nails while playing. It's not about the nail job or the makeup. People are there to watch basketball, not a fashion show. The incident involving DiJonai Carrington and Caitlin Clark has sparked a lot of anger. Many believe the eye poke was intentional, and this isn't the first time Clark has been targeted this season, especially by teams like the Chicago Sky. The commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, is under fire for her silence on these issues. The situation is escalating, with many calling for Carrington to be suspended. There are even suggestions that Clark should sue the WNBA due to the repeated and disturbing fouls she's endured. Said, the lack of action from the commissioner and the referees is raising questions about their integrity and potential biases. This whole situation is why many people don't take the WNBA seriously. The idea that players might be intentionally fouling Clark because of her skin color is being discussed, and it's a deeply troubling possibility. It's being described as hate crimes happening live on TV. The use of acrylic nails in basketball is seen as absurd, and the commissioner needs to address these concerns. Fans have been demanding answers all year, and after the Kennedy Carter incident, there were already talks of a boycott. The commissioner must be careful because the new fan base, which includes many families and young girls who look up to Clark, does not want to see their hero mistreated.
We've seen the animus directed at Caitlin Clark all year. It reached a boiling point yesterday.
While Clark is getting technical fouls for things as minor as expressing emotion on the court, Reese seems to skate by without facing any real consequences for something much more serious.
Caitlin Clark played a terrible game, shot 4 of 17 from the field. The Indiana Fever got curb stomped by the Connecticut Sun. I get it. She had a bad game. Connecticut Sun looked good. They looked experienced. They brought a level of intensity and physicality that the Fever weren't ready for.
It's like there's one set of rules for everyone else and a harsher set just for Caitlin.
There was no foul call. There was no real discussion of it on the ESPN broadcast. ESPN wrote a story after the game that did not mention that the biggest star in the history of the WNBA, the first woman to ever be the biggest star in American sports, was assaulted 2 minutes into the game on a dirty play with one of these women with these long fake fingernails that stabbed her in the eye.